Hey friends, this episode is about burnout. We are going to be talking about burnout as somebody who's kind of in the middle of recovering from it and is still dealing with it. So, we're going to talk about how you deal with burnout while you're still in burnout because, regardless of who you are, the world is a lot right now. So, we're going to talk about how to deal with that as well as how to avoid it. This is part of a three-part series on burnout. We're going to start by the expectation being here of trying to figure out how to stop what's making things worse. We can't necessarily make things better immediately when you're in burnout, but you can definitely stop the spiral of things getting worse. And that is where we are going to start for today. If you are new here, going to start for today. If you are new here, hello and welcome to Authority, where we spill the tea on the publishing industry. I'm E. Prabilski. I am an author, editor, speaker on publishing, neurodivergence, all these kinds of things. If you don't know me, I'm also on the board of directors for the Editorial Freelancers Association. I work with Author Nation. They are fabulous people. I've been in the industry for 18 years now, and I am the author of How to Write the Damn Book and How to Publish the Damn Book, as well as the Boston Blight series. So, welcome to Authority. Let's just get into this, shall we? Because I don't want to waste your time or mine. Burnout likes to tell us lies. It likes to tell us that the answer is always to try harder, to be more disciplined, to push through. It's reinforced by our modern culture, which kind of treats exhaustion as the normal, and it creates these morality frameworks around the idea of taking a break or resting. Like, hustle culture is a thing. And it hits authors really hard because we have this expectation that we can always produce, that we need to show up everywhere all the time perfectly, and that's the only way to be successful. And that isn't true. And it's one of the big things that contributes to burnout. And those are the lies that society tells us about existing right now. And the reality is that pushing harder while you're already in burnout or when you're at zero just keeps you stuck. It might make things worse. And no matter how hard you try to just do all these things society says you have to do to keep pushing, keep trying, keep going, no matter how hard you make that effort, it's not going to work. And then you feel like it's your fault. You feel like you're a failure. You feel like, well, maybe I'm just lazy. You start gaslighting yourself horrendously. Ask me how I know. And once you're in that state, it can feel like there's no way out. And the answer to that is to stop trying to push your way out. You cannot power your way out of burnout. You just can't. It overloads your entire system, your body, your mind, your emotions, and adding more pressure to that by allowing yourself to feel guilty, by putting pressure on yourself to perform more and keep going, it just compounds the damage. And that's kind of what we're trying to stop here. The shame, the self-bullying, the white-knuckled, it doesn't actually help anything, and it will not bring your creativity back if your creativity is flagging. No amount of that is going to bring your creativity back if you are struggling. You can't just force your way through it. So as I mentioned, the first real step is to stop the things that are actively harming you. It might feel like, if I don't do this, I'm going to be so far behind, but sometimes you have to just set down some of those spinning plates and let them go for a bit in order to allow yourself to have any breathing room at all. Because if you don't find a way to navigate your way through this burnout, it's never going to get better. So at the moment, while you're in burnout, here with me, because like I said, I've been there since November. That's one of the reasons I've been so missing here. We're going to focus on damage control. Big life changes, big system altering things, all of that comes later. Right now, our goal is to just get through today, get through tomorrow, get through the week, and we can just ask ourselves, what do I need to get through today? Ask what you can put on pause right now. What can you stop for a little bit? What self-imposed expectations can you be like, well, maybe I don't need to do it that way all the time right now? How can you let go of some of those things that are really stressing you out? How can you drop the bar? We're not talking about doing this forever. Forever is not a useful discussion right now. We're talking about what's going to get me through today, what's going to get me through tomorrow, what's going to get me through this week. Those are the questions that we need to ask ourselves. We can rest first, and then we can find answers. One of the things that is the only real cure to burnout is, in fact, rest. And you aren't going to come up with the fixes to all of your problems while you're in the middle of burnout. You're just not, because you need to rest first. If your brain is exhausted, it isn't going to work super well. You don't need to earn the rest either. Your body and your mind and your soul are demanding it. And if you don't listen, it will make you listen in ways that you're not going to enjoy and that will keep you out of commission for longer. So listen to that demand for rest. Lean into it. Let yourself rest. Exhaustion actually blocks access to some of your higher brain functions, to your motivation, to your creativity. That's not some kind of character flaw. That doesn't mean that you are stuck in that space forever. You're not trapped there for eternity, needing rest and being exhausted, causing you to be foggy and grouchy and more emotional in general, like all of those things. It's not a character flaw. It is the sign of somebody who's kind of at the end of their rope. And that's where I've been. That's why I haven't been making videos. That and like combination of being sick from the flu and a bunch of other stuff. Like all of those things all ganged up on me at once and I crashed. So I'm digging myself out slowly by doing the things that I'm telling you work. So we're in this together. Rest also doesn't mean that you just need to lie flat and do nothing. Rest can actually be active. You can do things that really like fill your cup rather than diminish them. And that's the kind of stuff that I recommend. Like do some art, do some drawing, maybe write a fanfic that you have no expectations of. Whatever it is that you find restful, cooking, spending time with your family, patting your animals, do those things. Rest doesn't need to be lying in bed doing nothing. Okay, you can rest in a lot of ways. And that rest is going to give you the opportunity to recover. Part of the reason that rest is so necessary too is because it's going to kind of reset our relationship with ourselves and our writing, because when we're in burnout, the decisions that we make are going to be like scorched earth choices. We're going to be like, nope, I'm done with this forever. I'm never doing that again. I'm a complete failure. Everything is wrong. Everything is bad, and I'm never going to be better, so I'm just going to give up entirely. And that isn't true, and it isn't necessarily helpful. It's kind of like, when when you're hungry, eat a Snickers. This is the same kind of idea, except, you don't have to eat a Snickers. So, like, if you want to, they are delicious. I have one on my desk. For those of you who are listening to the podcast, I just held up the Snickers bar that I've got on my desk right now. The thing is, though, like, you need to reset your mind before you can do much, because everything feels like a catastrophe right now. Everything feels like it's on fire, and you don't know where to point the fire extinguisher first, so you're like, screw it, I'm moving. And maybe you are going to eventually need to, but we'll start with taking some time and letting the fires go out before you react to them too much. In this phase, we're looking to stabilize. We don't need to transform our whole life. We don't need to change everything. We just need to find something that looks and feels a little bit more stable than what we're experiencing in that moment. It's kind of like triage in medicine. You are looking to stop the bleeding and keep the person breathing until they get a chance to really do the stuff they need to do to heal. And if you're at this phase of burnout where everything just feels horrible, do triage on yourself. You have to stabilize and stop bleeding out, metaphorically speaking, before you can really start healing. Which makes this phase of handling burnout feel like you're not doing anything. It feels really unglamorous. It feels boring. It feels pointless to just stop and sit and do very little. because it feels like you're not putting the effort in to correct the problem, but that's the thing, is you are. By stopping, by resting. If you take everything that is not completely essential out of the equation and just don't do it for a little while, it will help you have the opportunity to, as I mentioned earlier, reset a little bit. I dropped off all of my book marketing for a while, which definitely didn't help my sales. I dropped off this podcast for a bit, which I know my readers and my viewers and my listeners are like, where'd E go? But I had to. I had to stop everything for a little bit. And lo and behold, I'm back. And lo and behold, if you're still here watching this, you stayed. The whole world didn't end because I hit the pause button really hard for a little while. You can do the same thing. Your readers will forgive you. And doing the minimum for just enough time to catch your breath is kind of the only way out. You don't need to put pause on everything forever, because here I am. I'm back. You don't need to fix your whole life today. Just stop digging the hole deeper. Stop trying to, center the earth, that stuff, and just take a minute. I am sure that the context of the world for many of us, and if you're watching or listening to this podcast, you probably know where I stand on a lot of things. The world is a lot right now. The world is extremely heavy, and I don't really care what side of the political spectrum you're on here in the United States. I'm sure everybody is feeling this pressure. Everybody is feeling this exhaustion and this frustration and this weariness and this burnout. We're living in really challenging times. Regardless of who you are, some people are struggling more than others. I am not going to sugarcoat that at all. But we are all struggling under the ghost of everything that's happening. This constant pressure and threat, all of this, if you're feeling exhausted and just like, I just want to lie down and not get up again, that is a reasonable human response to what's going on right now. That is not a morality judgment. That is not a criticism. It just kind of is where a lot of us are. You are not failing. You aren't alone. And everything that's going on, whether it's your own personal burnout, whether it's some personal difficulties, whether we're talking about the state of the whole world, all of that will pass eventually, because one thing is true in life. There are two certainties in life: death and change. We will all eventually die. And the other certainty is that life always changes. There are always changes, for better and for worse, but it's always going to be different, and you only need to live every single day once. And if today feels like the day you never want to live again, good job. You don't need to live this day again. Depending on when you listen to this day may be over. Or if it's not over yet, it will be over soon. Or if it's just starting, well, it will be over this evening. But it is going to end. You will be able to finish whatever it is that is causing you this experience you are having. It might not be pleasant, it might not be easy, but it will pass. And if you take care of yourself while it's passing, set down everything non-essential. Sometimes we have to just essentially run our systems, our internal systems, in safe mode and not run non-essential programs. That's okay. Take the break you need, take the breath you need, and come back. Next week, we are going to talk a little bit more about burnout. Like I said, this is a 3-part series. Those of you who've hung around to the end, you may have noticed on the camera, and if you're just listening, I have new tattoos. I got the symbols for the Archangel Michael and the Archangel Cassiel tattooed on my wrists, as well as a semicolon to reflect some mental health troubles I had last year. I am doing okay. I am very tired, as I'm sure you can tell, and I have been struggling with burnout and the state of the world, as I'm sure many of you are. So that is where we're at, and just thank you for joining me here on Authority, where we spill the tea on the publishing industry with heart, humor, and hard-earned insight. If you found today's episode helpful, please share it with a fellow writer, leave a review, tag me on socials, let people know that I'm out here existing, and I would love to hear from you in comments and an email maybe. You can sign up for my newsletter. What really resonated with you, if anything? And if you have burnout tips that I didn't cover that kind of cover this stage where you're in burnout and you need to find a way to stop the metaphorical bleeding, leave them for me. Let me know. Did I miss something? Is there anything you found particularly helpful? Is there anything you really didn't find helpful? That would also be good information. Your voice matters, your story counts, and if you are still wearing pants at this point in the process, congratulations, you're ahead of the curve. Because I'm not. I will see you again next week.